Okay, what's an MVP? An MVP is a minimum viable product. And I think the common way of describing this is to say it is the piece of software, the piece of hardware that is small enough to do the job. Now, I take it as far back as possible for one simple reason. The more effort that you put into producing an MVP, the longer it takes, the more it costs. The bigger the project, the larger the risk of failure. So when you have a problem that you've discovered, that you've identified, that you've validated in some way, shape or form, the first thing to do is, can you produce an MVP in 3, 6, 12 hours? And for a lot of people, they'll say, whoa, yeah, I can't code, I can't do this, I can't find a way to do it. And part of what you need to do at this stage is to really get outside that box of your own limiting beliefs and start thinking, what can I do? So for example, I was working with one startup who had this idea of doing outdoors advertising. Basically, they were going to get little LED screens on people's shoulders or the clothing, and they were going to run adverts off them. And basically, this would increase brand awareness or something similar. Now, the idea may or may not have been good, but what they did is they got an iPad, and with a little bit of tape, they taped it to the chest. No, that's not really straight. Oh, bollocks, I'm no good at this. They taped it to the chest, they put a Coca-Cola advert on, and they walked around a shopping centre. They then got one of their colleagues to record how many people looked at the person, how many people spotted the advert, how many people were looking at the advert for more than a couple of seconds. And that quickly validated, well, actually it totally invalidated the idea, is that iPhones were way too small, and then because most people didn't have iPads, there wasn't going to be the crowdsourced ability to easily source people wandering around in shopping centres carrying these. So the whole idea died at that point. But can you imagine what would have happened if they hadn't done a very simple prototype, if they hadn't done a very simple experiment like that? They'd have got developers on board, they'd have made promises, they'd have given out equity, they'd have pitched and pitched and pitched, they may have raised some money, and the end result would have been a real big value destroying exercise. So with everything, it is, how can I test my value proposition, my business model, as early as possible? And there's a brilliant essay by Paul Graham. Oh, he's done lots of brilliant essays come to that. But this one, do things that don't scale. To start with, what do you need to do to get that first sale? Do you need the software? Can you use a wireframe and an Excel sheet? Can it be a web page that looks automated, but in the background, you've got people working, frantically doing everything manually and faking it? That, if you can get that to work, you know that the business model works. You know that you've got a business. You know that you can make sales. It's then a question of, how do I get more sales? And then a separate question of, how do I reduce the cost of delivering this, which is essentially another way of saying, let's code it. Let's code what we know works. The other advantage of building an MVP in this way is that a lot of the time, and I certainly found this when I was doing workflow automation using Salesforce, that if you start from what you think is going to work, apply it, you quite often find that the way that the world works in reality is quite different. And so you build something and then you have to go back, do rework, reversions, improve, tweak, and iterate through until you find something that actually delivers the promised result. So by going out and having a very low cost minimum viable product, you are then able to see how your business processes need to work. What does the workflow look like through your app or your software? That is the real value of a minimum viable product. I hope that was useful. If it was, please give me some feedback in the comments. It'll be great to hear from you. My name is Dennis Oakley and I am the Startup Strategist.